Hi everyone, it's Saoirse, and I'm here with my Christmas tree to tell you all about the books that I liked best in 2024. I tried to pick 10, and I ended up with 12 because I just had a really good reading year, and I read 42 books, which was two more than my 40 book goal. And yeah, it was really spoiled for choice here. So let's get into it. I'm going to go from, I don't want to say least favorite, because they're all my favorites. So I'll go from loved it to life changing. Okay. First up, we have The Once and Future Sex. This is by Eleanor Janega. It is going medieval on women's roles in society. I read this very early last year. I'll give you a little bit from the back of each one, and then I will link you if I did a video on these books, and I probably did a video on all of them, hopefully. Maybe not all of them. What makes for the ideal woman? How should she look, love, and be? In this high-spirited history, medievalist Eleanor Janega unfurls the Middle Ages ideas about women to reveal what's shifted over time and what hasn't. So this was just extremely informative and enraging, and I recommend it. I read a lot of grief books last year, and this one was one that I found really helpful. I promise it won't always hurt like this. This is 18 Assurances on Grief. Grief is universal, but it's also as unique to each of us as the person we've lost. It can be overwhelming, exhausting, lonely, unreasonable, there when we least expect it, and seemingly never-ending. Wherever you are with your grief and whoever you're grieving for, I promise it won't always hurt like this is here to support you, to tell you until you believe it that things will get better. This was just laid out really nicely, and the author was very real. And hello, we've got some cat playing in paper bag action here, which I know is going to sound really loud and wonderful on camera, but it's so cute. Modern Love, True Stories of Love, Loss, and Redemption, and this is from the New York Times column, Modern Love. So I took a look at all these books, and I thought, oh, it's going to be all nonfiction, like I just read all nonfiction. But actually I was surprised there were so many novels in here, but this is one of those, essay collections that I love. Love essays, love memoir, love true stories, love history. So this is a great collection of people who have submitted essays to this column in the New York Times, and it's just, it's love in every possible way that you can imagine it. Heartbreak, a lot of heartbreak. What else is there? I can't think of anything other than heartbreak. But definitely recommend. I think I cried at quite a few of those. Speaking of crying, another grief book, and this one I found really, really down to earth and helpful. Forget Prayers, Bring Cake, A Single Woman's Guide to Grieving by Marissa Nathan Gerson. And it was so specific. Like, the title grabbed me because it was so specific, A Single Woman's Guide to Grieving, because that is something that I've always noticed with grief. It's really isolating, being a single person dealing with it, because you do not have somebody to lean on at home. Like if you live by yourself, and you don't have a partner, there's nobody there for you to lean on all the time, or even some of the time, really. So I really, really love this one. It says, loss does not wait for us to be ready. It arrives when it wants, on top of other struggles, and more often than not with a fury all its own. She wrote this after she lost her father. And yeah, I think it's good for everybody, but it was so specific that if you're a single woman grieving, definitely pick it up. Here we have The Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. And now this one is a classic. And let's see, when was this published? 2003? Yeah, it took me a long time to get around to this. So this tells the story of the Chicago World's Fair in 1893, and also the serial killer that used the World's Fair to find victims. And Erik Larson he does such a great job of of making nonfiction read with some of the excitement of fiction. But for me, I don't really care about that. I was just like, I'm here for the history. I'm here for all these old-timey dudes arguing about how they're going to get this World's Fair set up in time. I found that very suspenseful. I was like, are they going to get the World Fair set up in time? Even though this was over 100 years ago. And yeah, they did get it set up. It felt like there were stakes involved, which is the power of his writing. Okay, this is House of Names. Am I gonna say this right? Column-Tevin, I think. So I read this because I got really into Greek mythology after reading Song of Achilles. I was into Greek mythology as a kid, took a little break, and then I got back into it with Song of Achilles. And so this is a retelling of that whole thing with Agamemnon, how Agamemnon kills his daughter or sacrifices her so that the winds can pick up and they can make it to Troy to go start the war. And so this is when he comes home from the war and his wife is like, you killed her daughter, and she kills him. And it's all the aftermath of that, and it's very like, you know, who is the bad guy here? Is everybody the bad guy? Who are the victims in this situation? Let's see. So it says, I have been acquainted with the smell of death. So begins Clytemnestra's side of the story, the raging, grieving mother who plots the murder of her husband, King Agamemnon, on his return home from war. It unfolds the tragic saga where one bloody action leads inexorably to another, and so on and so forth. So it tells the story of her other children, pretty much, and I just found it so gripping. Okay, here we have a short story collection by my favorite, George Saunders. This is In Persuasion Nation. And if you have not read George Saunders, please, I implore you. I don't know what I have to say to convince you. He's definitely, I've heard this many times, that he's like the greatest writer in the English language today, especially the greatest short story writer that we have right now. And he writes really strange, it's not all like this, but like dystopian stuff, sometimes verging on sci-fi stuff. It's absurd. It's oh my god, what is the word? What is the word when you're making fun of something? This is gonna drive me insane. Oh, please sound off in the comments. This is so embarrassing. It's a book that's like making fun of the absurdity of this whole concept. Like, he's making fun of capitalism, you know, making fun of like the bizarreness of the American life, like the modern American life. These stories are just fantastic. And let's see, do I have a favorite from here? It's hard to even remember anymore. I think Brad Kerrigan American was one of my favorites. That one was nuts. I can't believe I can't think of that word. I'll let you know. Okay. Then we have You Are Here by David Nichols. And I read this after reading another one by him that is further on the list towards life-changing. But so yeah, I liked that one, and I was like, oh, I gotta read his new one. How exciting. And this one was just so cozy and so nice, and I never read stuff like that. It was these two people getting to know each other on a hike that one of them really didn't want to be on. And they both had like sad relationship stories, and you know, they find each other on this walk in the United Kingdom, which for me was just like, oh, the memories. So yeah, it says, Michael is coming undone, adrift after his wife's departure. He has begun taking himself on long solitary walks across the English countryside, anything to avoid the empty house. Marnie is stuck, hiding alone in her London apartment. She avoids old friends and any reminders of her ex-husband. Holed up with her books, she's battling a sense that life is passing her by. So yeah, then they end up on this trip together, and oh no, what's gonna happen? we have My Cousin Rachel by Daphne du Maurier. I just love her. And this is only the third book that I've read by her. And every time I do, I'm like, she's so good. She's done it again. And these, were written a long time ago, and I'm just now getting around to them. 1951. So My Cousin Rachel is a real classic. One of the world's great storytellers, Daphne du Maurier spins a dark Gothic tale of passion and unswerving love that turns to suspicion and fear. Rachel, a woman of exquisite beauty, descends on the great Cornwall estate of Philip Ashley. Despite his aroused suspicions, she soon enchants him. In this tale of good and evil, Philip must decide whether the glorious Rachel, the recent mysterious widow of his beloved cousin, is out to destroy him, or is the innocent victim of devious men with a tremendous longing to be loved. His fate and his future lie in the answer to this deadly question. Really enjoyed that one. Oh, okay, we're in top 3. So we have One Day by David Nichols. And I read this after I watched the Netflix show. I know. I normally wouldn't do that. But I just enjoyed the show so much. And the book is, the show does follow it very, very closely. So I thought, I'm going to be bored, but I wasn't, and I loved it. And I love the story, and I love the show, and just read it and watch the show. It's 1988, and Dexter Mayhew and Emma Morley have only just met, but after only one day together, they cannot stop thinking about one another. Over 20 years, snapshots of that relationship are revealed on the same day, July 15th of each year. Dex and Em face squabbles and fights, hopes and missed opportunities, laughter and tears, and as the true meaning of this one crucial day is revealed, they must come to grips with the nature of love and life itself. So yeah, it's the story over 20 years of these two people. Just heart-wrenching, beautiful, and also really fun to read, having lived in Edinburgh, because they meet at my university. Okay, these top 2 are kind of tied, but I'm gonna make myself do it like this. Okay, the runner-up, In the Distance by Hernan Diaz. And I just can't stop telling people about this book. And when people are like, what's a great book? I'm like, this book. It's this book. This is the greatest book I've read recently. And this one, it doesn't have a description. So I bought this without even a description, and I knew it was going to be good because it was recommended to me at this bookstore. And this is the story of a young Swedish boy who is sent by his family with his brother to go to America. They're supposed to go to New York. He gets on the wrong ship. He ends up in California. He's in San Francisco. He needs to find his brother, so he starts trekking across America. This is during the 1800s gold rush. And it is just this epic, like a Western, they call it a Western, of this boy becoming a man and, his long, lonely journey in the American West. It is so profound and so beautifully lyrically written. I can't recommend it enough. There you go. Do something good for yourself and read that book. Okay, so then we have in the top, this book was so influential to me. When I would see quotes from it and didn't know what it was really, but I was like, that's me. Like, I feel like I wrote that quote. And I finally picked up the book, and I'm so glad that I did. This is Little Weirds by Jenny Slate. So this is a collection of personal essays. And let's see, I'll just read you the back or some of it. To see the world through Jenny Slate's eyes is to see it as though for the first time, shimmering with strangeness and possibility. In her dazzling, impossible to categorize debut, Slate channels the pain and beauty of life in writing so fresh, so new, and so burstingly original. We catch her vision like a fever and bring it back out into the bright day with us, and everything has changed. The way that she writes is so fresh and real, and like the way that like brains think, or at least the way my brain thinks, that it was scary at times, feeling like this person's in my head. And her writing has done so much for me to inspire me to keep working on my writing, and also to show me that a book like that can exist, that a collection of just short, like very short little personal essay pieces with she does a lot of like the surreal and kind of magical realism in hers. But the fact that a book can be structured that way and can be that genre and work and sell a lot of copies and make a lot of people happy, that was a huge revelation for me, because it shows that like your writing doesn't have to be one thing, and we put ourselves in boxes so much as writers. You know, when we think about the market, where's the market for this? Go out and make your own market, and like Jenny Slate's kind of made a market for us if we want to write this kind of thing. So that is my top 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That was 12. I still can't think of that word that I was trying to think of. I feel like it starts with a P though, and it's not. Alright, if you've watched this long, then maybe you won't mind just sitting with me while I try and think of it. It's usually political. Satire. All I had to do was say the word political. That was the P word I was thinking of. Satire. He writes satire. Anyway. Now I can rest. No, I can't. I gotta film more videos. So, thank you all for watching, and I would like to know what was your favorite or your favorite books of the year. And next time we'll talk about our reading goals for the new year. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all next time. Until then, happy reading.